you so much for everybody coming, and thank you for Alissa Steinberg for being here. She is a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator and the founder of Healthy You, which is a nutrition-based business offering individual counseling and consulting services. She is passionate about providing high-quality nutrition, communication, and of all platforms to reach a wider audience. With over 12 and plus years of experience clinically at Sick Kids Hospital, Markham Family Health Team, and the Unity Health Toronto, she's gained invaluable nutrition knowledge and has fostered a passion for providing up-to-date evidence-based nutrition care. She constantly goes above and beyond her clients to work for them and thinks outside the box. And we're going to get a little bit of that today. We're really excited. And we're going to develop some effective and sustainable care plans going forward for all of us. So welcome, Alissa, and thank you. So take it away.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about being here today. One of my goals from kind of branching out from the hospital is being able to offer nutrition support for so many more people. So I'm very excited about it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have a lot of fun things on our agenda for today. I'm going to share my screen in between cooking and a PowerPoint. And I'm very interactive. So if you have questions along the way or comments, please send a message in the message box, and anyone can kind of help make sure that I'm answering those questions or comments. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just share my screen super quick so we can start with my second. Okay. Here. Okay. So, sorry. Okay. So I'm super pumped about being here. I'll try to keep it all within an hour, but I have until 3 o'clock before I see more clients. So I have a little bit more time if needed. So I am a dietitian, and I don't know if you can see here, but these are my two little sous chefs. Oh, where am I here? Am I frozen?
No, no, we can see you.
Sorry, I think everything. Okay, here. So these are my two little sous chefs, and I have them in the kitchen with me all the time. And I love sharing recipes on Instagram. And I secretly became Instagram famous recently. I have a lot of followers, but it's just healthy messages, lots of recipe ideas. So if you ever need somewhere to go, I would love a follow. And it's healthyu_dietitian. So it's just for a fun account, nothing business related. We're going to go through quite a bit today, and some things I can go faster or slower, but I kind of wanted to bring forward just some of the most popular topics I hear about on a regular basis. But before I begin, I'm a bit of a food nerd, and I'm going to start with a joke. So why do the mushrooms get invited to all the parties? And feel free to take yourselves off speaker, make this a little bit informal.
Why did the mushroom get invited to all the parties?
The drum roll. Do you guys want to call a friend?
Yes. What's the answer? Anybody?
The answer. Oh, yeah. Let's see if my slides are working fast enough here. So the answer is because he's a fun guy. Oh, I have so many more where that came from, but I thought that was a good kind of start. So it's important to kind of keep food fun because we live it many times a day, whether it's cooking, eating all the time, meals and snacks. So I try to always add a fun twist to our eating. So a little icebreaker, raise your hand or even kind of say to yourself out loud if you've had breakfast this morning.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, amazing. Great job, Janet. And then keep your hand raised if it included multiple food groups. So if it was more than just a slice of toast, did it have a few more food groups in it? Okay, awesome. And then the last piece was keep it raised if it was within an hour of waking up. Okay, I'm very impressed with who I get to see so far. Let's see if I can see multiple people here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. No. How do I get back to, okay. Okay. Amazing. So that is fantastic because give me 1 second here. In my practice, no matter what age and stage in life, I always focus on a really kind of balanced eating schedule. We hear a lot about intermittent fasting, or we have really busy days, and sometimes we actually forget to actually eat at the right times. So I do focus on kind of what would be an ideal eating schedule. So in my dream world, we're all eating within an hour of waking up. So amazing to those who were able to get something in at that hour. And then every 2 to 3 hours after. Now, there's so many benefits from actually being able to eat at those kind of time intervals. Can anyone think out loud about some of the benefits, even for yourself, if you're kind of eating a bit more regularly?
Keep energy consistent so you're not going up and down.
Yes, my sister is the epitome of hangry. So she needs to, has anyone ever heard of the term hangry? So it regulates energy and mood. Yep. Let's think about one more benefit together. I know I'm putting you all on the spot here on an afternoon session here.
Smaller portions?
Yes, exactly. So if I go all day without eating, do you think I'm going to want to have the French fries or the salad?
French fries.
Totally. And a big portion of them too, right?
Okay.
So eating regularly actually guides healthier food choices. And the bonus is it also helps to maintain a faster metabolism. And sadly, as we all get older, our bones start to kind of become a little bit softer and our muscle mass kind of drops, that our metabolism also can kind of slow down. So one way to preserve that is to be eating regularly. So I'm all about an eating schedule, especially because whoever has kind of those cravings that surface in the evening, we wander back to like the kitchen areas, right? So the eating schedule helps to kind of manage some of those cravings as well. Okay, so we are doing cooking in between all of these slides, and we have approached our first recipe. Now that picture doesn't do justice of what we're actually going to make, because I promise that you will want to lick your bowls and probably hopefully make this on repeat. So I have my station here. I'll just show you all. 1 second. So give me, and I do have a little bit of a growing stomach. So if you kind of spot that. Okay, so this is my station here. Now, the bonus, if you happen to have these groceries around and you're cooking along, is anyone cooking along with me or just observing?
I think most of us are just observing.
Perfect. Now, the bonus is when you actually watch a cooking class, it's very empowering, because just watching me do it, you end up actually getting that confidence in the kitchen yourselves, because I really get to break down how easy this is. So this here is just 2 bananas, and I'm going to add a third very ripe banana. So what happens when bananas become more ripe?
They're sweeter.
Yes, amazing. So when they're sweeter, you end up requiring less sugar in a recipe. So I like to get them nice and dark, and I love bananas, and I chose bananas because they're very inexpensive right now. And the prices of groceries have just shot up. That it's almost a little bit sad, but bananas, a bunch of bananas is about $1.50. And they're a very versatile fruit. But Alan mentioned a really good point. If you don't love bananas, there are other fruits you can use, which I always substitute applesauce, unsweetened applesauce. So I'm going to fork the bananas, okay, and just basically make them mash. Now, when you're in the kitchen with me, you're probably going to get more of an arm workout. Because my arms end up hurting more by the end of it, because it's a lot of kind of hands-on preparation, but super simple. We're going to mash our bananas. Now, all we need is 4 ingredients. So this one here is the banana, which falls in the vegetable and the fruit category. And we're also going to add almond butter. I love the flavor of almond butter in this recipe. It actually pairs really nicely, but you can use any nut butter. Now, what food group do you all think almond butter falls into?
Now, if you're allergic to nut butters, I guess any substitutes there?
Yeah, so there are like sunflower butters. Like there's one that's called a wow butter. That's a soy-based one, or there's also just sunflower seed butter. But if you really don't want any nut butter, then I'm trying to think, because what food group does this kind of fall into? Do we know what nut butters offer, or even seed butters?
Would they be high in protein
Yeah.
and
Hey,
fat?
Alan, we need to fully work together here, okay? So when you're actually choosing almond butter or peanut butter, we're thinking about a good source of protein. And when you have that extra protein, that gives you more iron and more energy levels. I'm just going to get a spoon here because we're going to portion out 1 cup of almond butter, okay? So this basically is going to go in here. Now I haven't measured this perfectly just because I am not it was a little bit of a tougher nut butter, but I would say 1 cup, like a nice decent amount. And the other great part about almond butter is there's vitamin E in almond butter, which is an antioxidant that just really overall helps to kind of keep us inside healthy. It reduces inflammation, keeps our skin nice and healthy. So I do tend to love almond butter. There's also one more nutrient that almond butter has, calcium. So check out the consistency here. It's looking real good. Okay. So this is my batter so far, and it smells delightful. So do you see, Alan, how if you use applesauce, it's completely a similar kind of experience. So I would say about 1.5 cups of applesauce can be a substitute and tastes just as good because it's nice and sweet. Now, 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. So cocoa powder is basically, again, I try to get a higher quality cocoa powder, but it's going to offer that chocolate experience without all of the extra sugar. And cocoa powder as well has a ton of antioxidants. Now, I am going to offer this to my 2 little kiddos. So I'm going to put some maple syrup in here, but you don't actually even need any maple syrup in this recipe. Do you see how this is becoming our brownie batter? I wish I can deliver it to everybody attending today.
It looks delicious already.
And this is just 3 ingredients that are very good. So far, this is just 2 food groups, right? We have the banana and we have the almond butter. But overall, that's a pretty decent balance so check out this consistency here. So it really is a beautiful brownie situation. I'm going to add a little bit of maple syrup, just a tiny bit, just because my boys, they one time tried a Tim Hortons muffin and they were like, "Mommy, is this one of your recipes?" And I said, "No." They're like, "You should make this more often." So I think they're looking for some standard ingredients as well. So I'm adding some maple syrup for them, but you totally don't need it if you're using very ripe bananas. And then I'm going to add some chocolate chips, just a few. I chose a dark chocolate, but you don't even need chocolate chips in this whatsoever. But this is my brownie batter and we are done. So we are officially done. I always use a parchment paper situation because it requires no butter or oil to the baking pan. And I'm basically going to pour this in with you all together. And guess what? 4 minutes later, we have a whole batch of from scratch brownies. How do we all feel about this? And it smells like chocolate over here. Does anybody want me to deliver this to them?
Well, yeah, right away. I wish there was a digital way to deliver them.
Exactly. And I always say, wake up in the morning with a meal that just you love, because it's such a nice way to start your day. And these brownies, you can have them as a snack. You can have them as anytime you want throughout the day. But I just kind of put them as a breakfast just to prove that they are quite healthy. And if you pair this with a little bit of maybe yogurt and some fresh berries, it's even more balanced. So I'm going to kind of just spread it out. I'm probably going to get a little bit more aggressive with all of the batter left in the bowl and put it on top. But just to show you, I love, one of the nicest ways to do this is to kind of put more chocolate chips on top.
Now here's a question, because
Yes.
although there's a lot of protein in there and a lot of deliciousness,
Yes.
it has that sweet sense to it. So if
Yes.
someone's triggered by sweetness,
Yes.
that's their kind of go-to craving enhancer.
Yes.
Is there a way to combat that or approach that?
Like to I think I have some cocoa powder coming into my mouth here. So you're saying if you kind of crave sweets a little bit more, how do you kind of balance out those cravings?
Correct. Like,
Okay.
how do you not eat that whole pan?
Yeah, that's a good point. So that's a really good point. So one is arguably, I would say you can actually, if one banana is one serving, I would say you can make this into 3. So you could have a bigger portion with homemade, healthier desserts. Okay. But what I would say is it's more about that eating schedule. So I deal with a lot of people who have cravings. And so why are those cravings there from the beginning? So the 2 most satiating macronutrients are protein and fiber. So one is you can add some like all bran to this, or like some ground flax. You can add more fiber to this, like ground flax seeds, chia seeds. So you can add more satiating ingredients, but you can also maybe start with maybe hard-boiled eggs and some fruit, and then you have the brownie. So order of your bites. But if you're eating regularly and having lots of protein and fiber, it might help you in the moment, not overdo it.
Brilliant. Good.
But because you're making it from scratch and homemade, you could have a bigger portion and enjoy it. Versus a standard brownie of this kind of sort, I would say limit the portion to about 150 calories. Here, I wouldn't even count the calories, and I would say enjoy.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm just going to wash my hands. So I'm going to put this into the oven. So we're going to all cut it up together, but 350 for 25 minutes. And technically speaking, if you make this at home, which I really hope you do, and maybe even send me a photo, you could even lick this batter, because
I love it.
You could have the batter because there's no eggs in this. It's super simple. And it was just 3 to 4 ingredients. Have I sold you on these brownies?
I think we're sold.
Yay. Okay, awesome. All right. So up next is, give me one quick second here. Okay. Okay. So then this kind of goes back to, okay, I've told you when to eat, but now when we think about those eating times, how do we fill our plates? A lot of people kind of walk into the kitchen feeling confused. How do I build a menu? Like, where do I start? And it's almost like you kind of are a little bit more overwhelmed with how much information is out there about nutrition. And so my easiest tool that I always go back to is a balanced plate. So this is the dream divided plate. Okay. In fact, I even have my children following the exact same thing every time. Now, what do we think half our plate should consist of?
Someone else other than
Vegetables.
me?
Vegetables.
Yes. Amazing. So vegetables, and then what's in that kind of same category? Vegetables and or? It's like the sweeter version of a vegetable.
Carol says fruit.
Yes, perfect. So it's vegetables or fruit or both. All of that. So half of our plate at snacks and meals should be vegetables or fruit. Now, not just a little. So one of my clients, she was saying, oh, I had a carrot muffin, and the carrots from the muffin were my serving of carrots. What do you think I said? We need a little bit more than that, right? So I'm
Doesn't
talking like,
replace.
pardon?
Was that Charmaine?
I wish I
Yeah,
could see
but
everybody.
it goes up. That doesn't replace at all the amount of a carrot, but all the additional calories, carbohydrates, everything.
Exactly. You're right. Let's not even start with the topic of a muffin. Now, what do you think the 2 quarters should be?
Your meat and your carbohydrate, your starch.
Yes. So the first quarter could be the proteins and the dairy. Exactly. And then you said it perfectly. The other quarter is a starch. So starch or a carb. But the reality is, if we go to restaurants, do we really see a quarter of our plate being rice or pasta? It's not so easy, right? So this plate looks simple, but it's a little bit harder in reality. So you all answered perfectly. We're looking at the veggies and fruits, the protein plus the dairy, and it could be either or both, and then the carbs. Now, in terms of actual portions, what I'm looking for is around 1 to 2 cups of vegetables and fruit per eating time. It could be a little bit less if your baseline's smaller. So if you're just kind of a few blueberries, I would add a bunch more, but you may not need to go to 2 cups of blueberries. The quarter of your plate for the protein, or here, should be 75 grams cooked, which looks like a deck of cards. So if you're making a piece of chicken, a deck of cards is a nice amount of protein. And then for starches, the scary part, we're looking at half a cup cooked. So not too much rice and not too much pasta. So this here is about 1 cup. So we're looking at about half a cup. Okay. And if you think about half a cup of rice, it's about 150 calories. So when we think about chocolate bars as one of our starches, which isn't the worst thing, it's more going back to your question, Alan, if you have chocolate, let's add some grapes. Let's add some almonds. So you don't rely on the chocolate to fill you up, but chocolate bars are about 200, 300 calories. So what would be a healthy portion of a chocolate bar?
So like half or less than that.
Exactly. So about half of a chocolate bar is a decent starch portion. Okay. So in terms of balance, I'm going to ask you all to help me out here. So this here is a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast. How can we make this a little bit more balanced?
Add some fruit to it.
Love. Yes. Sorry. What did I do here? I think, why did I say A or B? Maybe I was giving 2 options. So for cereal or oatmeal, add some fruit. And what else can we add? Because that's perfect. So add some fresh berries. What else can we add to make it even more balanced?
Carol says we should add some nuts.
Yes, exactly. So like whether it's walnuts on the sides or toasted nuts. And now they even have come out with higher protein milk products. So even getting a higher protein milk would be fantastic. And how do we make this morning snack? Oh, that's what how do we make this? I think how do we make this morning snack a little bit more balanced?
For either A or B, right? We make
right. So let's think about them as rice cakes and bananas. So bananas, rice cake. What's missing?
Peanut butter.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So adding in some of that protein. I love it. And then even if you wanted cheese with the rice cakes and then the banana on the side. Okay. And then here we go for lunch. So we have a sandwich bread, and some lettuce. And I brought,
Some meat up for the sandwich.
Yes, exactly.
Protein.
Exactly. So whether it's like chicken or hummus and both, and cheese, right? That is the satiating good stuff that's good for iron and muscle mass. The bread goes here, but am I talking about a giant bagel or 2 giant slices of bread? We're going down to the ones that are about 150 calories, right? Sad, but the bread sizes just keep growing, right? But we don't, right? So what's available to us is a lot larger for portion. So it's like the Dempster slices, I think, are almost 120 per slice when they used to be 50. So
really?
Yes. And
wow.
I don't know if you noticed what happened at Tim Hortons, but 5 years ago, our smalls now are the mediums. So there was a shift in the sizes. So it's amazing, just like literally, like some of us may not even know, and my children and the younger generation are going to associate a small, but with a medium-sized cup. So pretty big. Now, I have a lot of people say, oh, but I added some lettuce to my sandwich. What do you think I say about that? Is that a full portion of vegetables?
No.
No, Exactly. Janet, you know. So what I would say is it's more about having a sandwich, no problem, adding what you want to help make it taste delicious, but still have a salad on the side, right? So you really get your volume. Because if I'm asking you to choose smaller size bread products, it would be more valuable to do that if you have more protein and more vegetables to go with it. So the last one here, the afternoon snack, we have a granola bar, we have carrot sticks, and then what's missing?
Dairy.
Exactly. So what could be an example of dairy to go with that, or a protein?
A small piece of cheese or something, or a little bit of milk or something.
Love it. That's perfect. And that's more balanced, right? Because now
Yeah.
all of a sudden, this snack has more calcium.
And I've never been prison morning or afternoon snack
Yeah.
in my life.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I look at it, we just adding on to everything, although it's all good food.
Yes.
My husband is very much the one like the snacker, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I'm not asking to maybe increase the volume of food, but maybe like the food group distribution. But it wouldn't hurt to have just like to throw in some berries or some almonds throughout the day, because it really helps to manage our appetite if we delay our eating times, it helps to manage the appetite then. But really good point.
Would you
Yeah,
call
which
that
my
kind of
husband
grazing?
definitely does, you know, and he does have type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
I have my lunch, I'm not going to be hungry till supper time.
Yes. So I would say everyone's, I'm kind of giving more general recommendations.
But it's good though. They're all good recommendations. It's no disagreeing.
Okay. And for blood sugar control, it's even more important to eat regularly, because your pancreas is happier if you distribute the food properly throughout the day versus
Yes.
delayed eating times. So that's good. Tell your husband he's doing a great job.
Mhm.
So in terms of dinner here, the last one, this would be a rice dish or a pasta dish. What's missing from either one?
Protein and vegetables.
Yes. So now I think you all get my flow here. Now, are we talking about the full bowl of pasta or the full bowl of rice? Sorry, I'm just going to move this over here. Okay. So we're talking about just a quarter of our plate pasta and rice, because that's the food group. The carbs are the ones that our bodies are going to store the fastest, and we hold on to the quickest. Okay. So lastly is most places are not that easy to follow this plate method, whether we're ordering pizza or pasta or ramen soups. It's very much carb heavy, because what do you think is the least expensive food group for restaurants?
That would be the
Pasta.
carbs for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't, yeah. And do you think that the restaurants are really prioritizing our health?
No.
No, they want us to come back, right? So it's important to kind of understand their agenda and our agenda. So you can always speak up at restaurants and modify your orders if they're more of a delivery or pickup, so we get a bit more balance. So so this leads us to our next recipe. I'm all about how can we get more vegetables in our menu and it tastes delicious. So here we have spaghetti squash. Who here has ever used spaghetti squash? Yay!
I have.
Amazing. I see so many good hands. This makes me very happy. Zucchini noodles in place of pasta, or mixing them together. Okay. This here is cauliflower rice. Okay. Smoothies are a great way to get loads of fruit or vegetables or both in one kind of cup. And then making it fun. So rather than just having an apple, you can turn it into skewers or even like a fruit salad. So my next recipe, drum roll, is a cauliflower mashed potato. Okay. And guess what? It's 2 ingredients. Okay. Now, do you think I'm going to limit your portion on cauliflower?
No.
And I'm going to teach you how to do this with me and inspire you. So, you know, I used to attend cooking classes with patients I would work with and get them involved. I would go home and cook all of the recipes. When you watch a cooking session, you're more likely to do it. So I do truly hope you try this yourselves when you're able to get something like a cauliflower. So I'm going to basically, I just basically turned my steaming situation on. So I just put some water in the pot here. Okay. And I'm going to get the cauliflower. Oh, sorry. Sorry, everybody. I don't know how to disconnect my phone from my computer. So Alan, I might need you one day to help me with that.
Look, that happy to help if I can.
Okay. I'm just going to get back to that slide. My apologies. Either way, I'm going to actually put the camera down here so we can get cooking here. So basically what I love is if you buy a whole cauliflower, it's cheaper, but they have gone up in price. This was about $5. That's insanity. But I also love using, I bought this just to show you. This is a frozen cauliflower rice. So you can buy this bag for $4 and it's the same price and it's frozen. So it's like ready to go whenever you need it. You can literally let this thaw on your counter and then you can use this instead of this. So you don't need to do it from scratch. You can actually literally just buy a bag of frozen cauliflower rice and then hand blend it. And you all of a sudden have cauliflower mashed potato. So basically, if I go here, I'm going to cut the ends off. So I'm going to kind of just section it off. So I do a square. I always keep myself a little compost bin while I'm cooking, so it doesn't get so messy. But the computer that I'm using is actually sitting on my compost bin. But as you see, I have a lot of scraps while I'm cooking, whether it's the banana peels or this. So I always have compost just sitting beside me. To keep myself a little bit more organized in the kitchen. So see how I just squared it off? And then I'm going to cut the florets down. So I'm just going to keep cutting them. And then I'm going to add them to my pot. And that's pretty much the first step. So I want you to notice how quickly this process is. And if you made mashed potatoes, it's a lot slower, right? So I'm going to basically get my steaming pot. 1 second, and I'll bring it over here. And I'm going to add it to this over here. Now I'm going to kind of do a little bit of configuration here because you can make it all fit even if you buy a bigger cauliflower. Okay, beautiful. So basically I'm going to steam this until it turns into like mush. And I'm pretty much done almost. So I'm going to do that right now and steam it up. You can also use a microwave. There's no issues with that either. And I did buy fresh cheese. Now, my dream world, I have everyone using light cheese. Okay. So this cheese is a full fat cheese, but if you buy a light cheese, it's less than 20% milk fat. When I deal a lot with high cholesterol, and usually it's animal fats that like to stick to our arteries. So where does cheese come from? Plant or animal?
Animal.
You got it. Was that Janet, my superstar? So basically, if you think about the animal, so cheese usually is 35% fat. So I usually say 20% or less is a better choice. Obviously, if you're going to buy a cheese from like a really delicious market, get the regular stuff. But if it's already like a brand like Cracker Barrel, don't get nervous about my hands. I promise I won't cut myself. But basically, I'm going to keep these chunks and I can just still melt them in. But voila, we are done. So when the cauliflower is steamed through, we're going to basically just add some of this cheese and that's it. And it requires no other flavor. And we're going to use a hand blender. So this hand blender here to basically bring it to a nice mashed potato texture, or a fork. So you don't even need much more. So while that's cooking, I'm going to just continue on with the slides. and get to my last recipe because I'm just mindful of the time. So 15 minutes. What I might do, if that's okay, I might shift you over to the dinner recipe super quick because it's one of my most popular chicken dishes that are easy. And if you don't eat chicken, you can sub in tofu cubes, you can sub in anything you want. Shrimp, fish might be a little bit difficult because I'm using more chicken kind of pieces. So give me 1 second here, but I'm going to skip ahead to the dinner slide 1 second. You can't see my answers yet, okay? So we're going to do basil lemon chicken. So that's this over here. Okay. And I'm going to show you super quick, just the onion and the garlic trick that I have. Because garlic, I do love when it's fresh. When it's fresh, it tastes so much better. So I'll show you my trick that I purchased on Amazon to this. This here is my dream garlic press. Okay, so basically if I go here and I have just fresh garlic here, I'm literally going to put this on here and that's it. That's it. And it's so easy to clean. And I'm more inclined to use garlic, fresh garlic, if I have an easy tool. And that's it. So I basically, I put 4 garlic cloves and they're ready to go. And it was $9. So not too bad. Now I'm going to show you another trick just to cut an onion. You don't have to do this whatsoever, but I cut basically almost all the way down, but not fully. If you can see what I'm doing here, but I'm kind of cutting up until like the bottom here. Okay. And it's just an easy way to cut an onion where you don't kind of fry. I think I might be cutting it a bit too small. Hold on, or a bit down too far. But if you also put a bit of a wet paper towel beside you, you end up not getting that burning sensation. I am going to cut the bottom part off here. So I have a little bit more control, but are you ready? Are you ready to watch my onion trick?
We are ready.
Okay, so here we go. And that's it. So our onion is nice and chopped already into small little pieces. And it's less of that exposure of what kind of burns our eyes. So there we go. So our red onion and garlic is ready to go. And I'm going to plop these in the frying pan. So I'm going to move you one more time and then I'll keep you stationary. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to position you so I don't burn the computer. But we're going to now focus on this pan here. Turn the stove on. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in here. I like to use light olive oil for cooking and extra virgin olive oil for salads and toppers. So I get a lot of questions about oils to cook with. I wouldn't recommend using vegetable oil or canola oil. They're very processed. I would just do light tasting olive oil and regular extra virgin olive oil for all of my kitchen oil needs. Okay, can everyone see this properly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have onions and garlic going in. Okay, done. Then I'm basically going to let this kind of heat up a little bit, but I don't need to really worry about the timing. I also cut up some chicken breast. So you can use chicken thigh, you can use chicken breast, whatever you find. And I just dice it up in little small cubes. What I love about this recipe is it tastes delicious and it makes a ton of different, almost like 5 or 6 portions. So I used 2 or 3 chicken breasts. You can use as many as you want and batch up this recipe and freeze it. So as this is cooking, I'm going to kind of do it a little bit faster, but you can do it slower. Fresh lemon juice. So I'm just going to cut some lemon. So this one here is I'm going to just kind of catch the seeds. One of my tricks to using lemons, give me 1 second here. So there's so much flavor. Where's all the flavor coming from already? I'm going to do this one here. But one of my tricks, so the flavor's coming from the onion, the garlic, the lemon juice. And you'll notice I may not actually need any salt. I am using a little bit of soy sauce in this recipe, but I'm just going to move you away from the steamer because I don't want to burn my computer. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, beautiful. So my trick to lemons is you can actually roll a lemon on a hard surface. Give me 1 second here. So if I roll a lemon on a hard surface, it actually releases the juices. So it makes squeezing a lemon a lot easier, more efficient. So you want to roll it and push it down. Okay. Okay. So I also am going to add a little bit of soy sauce. Okay. I'm going to let you see the screen. And guess what? We're almost done. So this is now all my delicious flavors in my chicken. And I bought myself, you could even use frozen spinach. And I bought myself a nice big kind of box of spinach. So 4 cups of spinach. And why do you think I'm adding this much spinach?
Because it's going to shrivel down. Cook
Yes.
down.
And then what are we adding to this recipe without having to think about it? More veggies.
There we go.
Right? So this here is 4 cups of spinach and potentially 4 servings. That's at least 1 cup per serving. So I'm going to put all the spinach in. It will completely shrink down, but we're done. No chopping required, nothing. All we've done is cut so far an onion and chicken. Okay. And then I did get some fresh basil because it adds a little bit more flavor. And I just pulled them off their leaves and we're done. So this here is the basil. And I just basically pulled it off the leaf versus cutting it because you get more control that way. And that's it. Just going to finish this one here. It smells, if I could marry basil, I would. Okay. It makes me so happy. It smells delicious. And I'm just going to give us all a good mix. And we're pretty much, the chicken's almost cooked, probably another 4 minutes. And this dish is ready. So I just thought I would just, introduce you to my protein dish. So now we have a bit more of a balance. We have the cauliflower, we have the brownies, we have the chicken. So we have lots of good recipes going. And if you wanted to even add some lemon zest from the lemon before you juice it, that would make it that would give the recipe another kick.
Mm-hmm. That'd be good.
So what do we think so far? Do we see the chicken?
That looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants me to deliver all of this to them?
Done.
Raise your hand. I would love to. If we ever, and if I'm always happy to find a way to get these cooked and prepared recipes to you as well. But I'm going to let this basically simmer and cook until the liquid's pretty much absorbed. So it's very flavorful chicken. But as you can see here, you don't really need to wait for any of the onions to caramelize, the garlic, it all kind of cooks nicely together and we're good to go. Okay, so that is done. And that was done in 6 minutes. And the only thing I really did ahead of time was cut the chicken. So not too bad. Now I'm going to see where I'm at with this cauliflower. So the cauliflower is also done. Are you ready for the last recipe to become magical? Okay. All right. So basically, I'm going to take this cauliflower. Now, in the ideal world, we let the cauliflower sit on paper towel to kind of absorb some of the extra liquid. Vegetables and fruit are very, very heavy on the fluid. There's a lot of free fluid in those foods, so they become watery. So if you don't want it super watery and you want a thicker mashed potato, you can strain some of the actual liquid. I'm gonna put this here. And basically, I'm going to just transfer this over here. Now you could potentially steam it even longer, but I want you to watch how easy it is for me just to cut through this. It's just all pretty much super soft. Okay. And what I am going to do is I'm going to start actually pureeing it first before I add the cheese. and then I'll add the cheese halfway through. So you're going to all join me over to the hand blender situation. Now, if I let this steam even longer, you would not need a hand blender. You can totally skip that step and basically use a fork to get it ready. So I'm just going to hand blend it with you all over here. 1 second. Sorry, I keep moving you throughout the kitchen. Okay, so I have different stations to elevate the camera screen here, but can you see here? Okay, so I'm going to, so this here was $12. A hand blender is very easy, and they're almost magic, like a great appliance to have because they don't take up much space and they're very inexpensive.
Carol bought me one of those for Christmas.
Pardon?
Carol, my partner, bought me one of those for Christmas.
They are amazing. Carol is a wise person. Okay.
Oh, she's very smart. That just means I get to do more of the cooking for her.
So she's wise on so many levels. Yeah. So basically, you'll see here. It's really almost done. All right. All right. I can keep going. I was having so much fun. I told you everything's an arm workout over here. All right. So basically, this is almost done. I'm going to basically make it super creamy by just adding this cheese. So I'm going to add about a cup of cheese. You can add less. You may not even need as much. And if you don't do dairy, you can even do just garlic powder, garlic in there, and a little bit of olive oil. Like you don't need the cheese. I love the cheese for a bonus flavor, but check out what's already happening here. Can you all see here? I really want to deliver this one. Now, I would really encourage you to try this, even if you don't love cauliflower, because once you've cooked it through, like steaming it heavily and add cheese, it really disguises the flavor. Not completely, but a nice amount. But do you see how beautiful that is? Have I sold you on cauliflower mashed potato yet?
It looks delicious.
So I'll show you from a spoonful. And now again, I'm just rushing through, but I would do it with a little bit more detail, but that's it there. And that's cauliflower mashed potato. Mashed, not potato. I can't say potato, but this cheese. Now, if you wanted to, on top, you could put, like, when you're ready to serve it, you could put another layer of cheese on top. And you're pretty much good to go here. Hold on. And then you could bake it back in the oven like this. And voila.
Lovely.
Two
Is there a
ingredients.
garnish that might go on that, like just to give it a little extra oomph and color?
Yes.
Like
Anything you want.
parsley or?
Yes. I am not opposed. I try to keep it simple in a session like this, but the more advanced you want to get, Alan, the better. Yes, totally. So garnishes, you could even add a little bit of milk if you want, but it's very liquidy. So as you could see, I didn't need any oil in there. I didn't need any milk, which you would in like a mashed potato. It's very dry and absorbent. So, okay, do you want me to keep going or do you want me to press pause? What would be, how is your timing for everybody?
I think we're good. You think you can keep going? Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted just to quickly review with you because it's some of my favorite topics is nutrition supplements. So a lot of us have questions about what supplements we should be taking. And I would say there are two I recommend for probably everybody. Okay. That could be for any family members, no matter what age in the home. So what do we think 70 to 97% of Canadians demonstrate an insufficiency? What are we all deficient? Yes, yes.
Go ahead, Susan, you're on mute though.
Vitamin D.
Yes, vitamin D. Now, the reality is our vitamin D is just low in our food supply. There's no way Canadian food will allow us to meet our vitamin D needs. In fact, doctors aren't even checking if your levels are low. They're just assuming we're all low. So who here is taking vitamin D?
I am.
Yeah. Okay. You're all incredible. Amazing. Vitamin D, you could do drops, 7 drops every Monday for the entire week. It's super important for bone health. That's the main thing. And then prevention of other conditions like diabetes. There's a lot of connections between adequate vitamin D levels and prevention of things like cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's. So a lot of different conditions. So, and we don't really want to rely on the sun to get our vitamin D. That wouldn't be fun either from a dermatology perspective. So it's just safe to assume supplementation is the way to go. Now, I do have this omega-3 quiz. Are you ready for it? So this is I created this quiz myself. So do you consume at least 2 servings of fish each week? If yes, you get 1 point. If no, you don't get any points. What does Carol say? Is Carol with you, Alan?
She is, and she's not a fan of fish.
Okay.
So I would probably eat more fish if she sends me on my way when I want to cook fish.
So for me, fish twice a week, even as a dietitian who likes fish, not always so easy. So I would say no. I would say some weeks yes, some weeks no. Are you a vegetarian, vegan, or simply, as Carol might say, not like fish? So I am not a vegetarian. So my answer is no. So I get 1 point. And then do you eat walnuts, chia seeds, or ground flax seeds on a daily basis?
I used to. I don't know.
Okay. So my answer is no, because I definitely don't eat them on a daily. I have them in my cooking and in my food, but not every day. So my score is 1 out of 3. If your score is 1 out of 3 or less, you should be taking a supplement. Now, I love omega-3s because they actually have been shown, maybe that's why I'm so positive, but a little bit of a boost in your mood. It's also cardioprotective. So the omega-3 fats help to reduce inflammation in our bodies and actually protect the heart in some capacity. So I would say omega-3s are a great thing to kind of definitely have on a daily basis, very safe. Now, the one I recommended here is, hold on 1 second. This here, it would be the Nordic Nap, any gel capsule. I have a lot of Costco goers or online ordering goers. So any gel capsule is fine. I just use one from Shoppers called Nutritious, but ideally a gel capsule versus fish oil. And if Carol really doesn't like fish, there's even vegan ones too, like vegan gel capsules. Okay. So if I sold you both on vitamin D and omega-3s.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then and I did mention this earlier, but blank is the most satiating macronutrient and it delays essentially your appetite and hunger. Is it carbohydrates, fats, protein, or water?
Protein.
Who said that?
Protein.
Whoever said that, who I cannot hear, you are correct. So protein is the most filling macronutrient. So if you have eggs for breakfast over cereal, which one do you think is going to keep you fuller longer?
The eggs.
Eggs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that really helps, going back to your initial
Sure.
question, Alan, helps to manage the cravings. In fact, a study was done where if you follow a bit of a higher protein menu, your overall calorie intake went down by 300 without even realizing it. Okay.
And that's very important for our community too, because of
Yeah.
smaller stature.
Yeah.
We need to eat, in general, we need to eat fewer calories.
Yes.
particularly as we get older.
Yes. Yes. And when we turn 50, all of us, muscle mass starts to decline. So in addition to that, we need protein helps to retain that muscle that might be coming down, combined with muscle strengthening movements. So are you primarily an activity, like physical activity community? Like the Zoomer Boomer initiatives? Is it more, because it says physical activity?
That is, yes, there is that. That is involved in there too. We just
Okay.
haven't had a chance to
Gotcha.
meet in person too
But
much
not-
lately.
Okay. That's amazing. I would like to join. I need more movement. I need more movement in my life these days. This third baby I'm carrying, it has gotten me down, down to the sedentary kind of mode. But so movement's really important, but movement and protein paired together are the perfect equation. And lastly, we're going to finish off with some label reading because it's very confusing. I wasn't born with the knowledge of what a saturated fat is. I only know that after 9 years of education. Okay. So basically, if we look at the label, we want to really base, when we look at the food product, what nutrient we're looking for. So for example, if I'm looking at a piece of chicken breast, am I looking at the carbohydrates in the chicken, the fat, or the protein? Which ones do you think I'm looking for? In
Fat.
chicken. Yeah, fat and
Protein?
yes. Am I looking for carbohydrates in chicken?
No.
No, right? If I'm using fresh, unsweetened applesauce that's 100% apple, would I care about the salt in the apple?
No.
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 So when we think about looking at different food products, each nutrient kind of goes with different food products. It's not all look at the whole label and feel overwhelmed by it. So what I typically say is for foods that we want to look for fiber, it's typically the vegetables, the fruits, the bread products, the cereals, the granola bars, oatmeal, legume-based products like hummus or chickpeas. We need more than 4 grams of fiber per serving. So let me show you something quickly here. So do we think that there's 4 grams of fiber in this Oreo cereal that my son made me buy him?
No.
No, it's not a whole grain. They've stripped a lot of the nutrients out. It probably started this way, but this only has 1 gram of fiber.
Wow.
Okay. Now, furthermore, so that's why I mix his cereal with all brand buds. So
Clever.
yeah, little do they know, but you know, they did come from a dietitian. So I'm all about the balance. So I would never say no, but teach them the balance plate and how to kind of approach these cereals without the excess in mind. Now, when we think about sugar content, we're looking for sugar again in similar stuff like cereals and granola bars but are we looking for sugar content in bread? Most bread products. Not really. I wouldn't worry about because they legally probably, they're not trying to, unless it's like a honey bread, you know, I would say just focus on the fiber. And then how many calories is the starch portion, if you remember? My brownies are ready and they smell delicious, by the way. I'll show you all. So bread, maybe not so much. Tomato sauce, like you could see if like there's sugar, but you don't really, it's more the cereals, the granola bars, the cookies, the yogurts that contain a lot of added flavor. So be careful with things that are sweet. If you go past 8 grams per serving, it's a lot of added sugar. So I typically say 8 is my threshold. So who here can read for me how much is in this one?
It's pretty small on the screen because we're
Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
13 grams.
15.
You are all incredible. Yes. 13 grams. So almost double than what it should be, right? So a lot of added sugar in this cereal. So that's why I balance it out with both. Yogurts. Activia was sued $20 million for false advertisement because they're yogurts that were flavored at 25 grams of sugar per serving. So there's
Wow.
getting white sugar, but they would have made adjustments now. Now, juice. How many oranges do you think it takes to make 1 cup of juice?
Eight.
6, 7.
Okay, you're all. The answer is, drum roll, 6.
Three.
No,
No,
it's a
who
guess.
Who here could chug 1 cup of juice?
Mhm.
No problem, right? Who here can eat 6 oranges? Right? So my favorite F word is fiber. When you basically, when you end up basically just squeezing all the juice, that you're just squeezing all the sugar out and you're missing all the fiber and the pulp on the inside and the skin. That's the stuff that keeps us fuller longer. So juice is very high in sugar, even though it's natural. And then if we think about how many teaspoons of sugar, so let's just say we thought about the natural sugar, 6 oranges, how many teaspoons of sugar are in 1 cup of juice, or packets of sugar?
6.
Yes. 6 teaspoons of sugar in 1 cup of juice.
Whoa.
So this here is like 1 cup, so it's not that much. And most dishes these days also are growing in size. So depending on kind of your preference, but I try to keep them standard smaller dishes to guide healthier portions. But they have created bigger cups, bigger plates, just as a population as a whole. So what's even available to purchase is becoming, kind of guides bigger portions, including fluids. So when we think about saturated fat, it's an animal fat that you want to keep low. And that's the one that was in cheese. That's why I said to choose cheese that was light. So you want the animal fat to be less than 5 to 15%. Same with sodium. Sodium and salt are synonymous. So you, again, want that low, so 5 to 15%. But do I really care about the salt in a sugary cereal?
No.
We're preserving the cereal with sugar, right? But if it's tomato sauce, they're preserving it with salt.
Right.
That I care about. So here, for example, what's the sodium content in this? I'm sorry about the microvision here, but can anyone read it? Sodium?
7%.
You got it. So it's within that 5 to 15, so we're okay. But I wouldn't say I'm going to choose this cereal because there's very little salt, right? Meanwhile, there's no fiber and really high sugar, right? So you think, like, thinking about kind of that nutrient you're looking for in the label and how it matches the food product. And that is it, everybody. That wraps up our entire presentation. We went through a lot of information today. I'll stop sharing.
Oh, shoot.
And thank you for your patience with me, because we went through a lot together in one short hour. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Could you put up your contact information again, please?
Yes. So what's really amazing is I'm able to see if you have insurance coverage for dietitian services. You could book visits and you get it's not direct billing, but you get reimbursed by your insurance providers. So if you have insurance coverage, it's great to start thinking about. I'll get out of the picture too, but I'll move this here. Sorry. But you can always email me or call me with any questions. And follow me on Instagram, because I post a ton of recipes there. And I just share, like I just posted, I'll show you an example of what I just shared. And I use a lot of almond flour in my cooking. So it's a lower carb option, higher protein. But I just posted, okay, give me 1 second here. I'm sorry. But let's see how many views this one has. Hold on.
In the meantime, Alissa's contact information is on the e-blast that was sent out as well.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
you scroll down to the bottom where you have everyone's, well, the Brigitte's contact information and mine,
Yeah.
it's there as well. So
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
look
So
at
then I
that.
just I made a pancake batter that I mastered with almond flour, eggs, and applesauce, a cinnamon swirl, and a low-fat cream cheese. My
Oh.
children have devoured it. So again, this account is just out of passion, but you see the recipe here, and I tell you all the instructions. So it's just recipe inspiration and just kind of motivation to keep you going, that kind of stuff. So I will log off here. Hold on.
That looks amazing.
So if
It
you
does.
don't have coverage, I always encourage people just to follow me for some extra inspiration. You can always message me.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. This
And-
has been amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great job.
Well, you're an amazing team to work with. A little side note, you're all in great hands. Your leadership team.
A question for you, if I can.
Yeah.
As we age, our magnesium also gets lower too.
Yes.
So what do you recommend? How much should we use as a supplement?
Yeah. So magnesium is good. So I haven't seen a lot of magnesium deficiencies, but I would say magnesium is good for two reasons. One, maybe three. One is for digestion, so for bowel movements. The second is for bone, like cramping, muscle cramping. If there's any issues with bowels or muscle cramping, then I would think about a supplementation. And they often mix magnesium with calcium, which I kind of like. So I would just choose any magnesium supplement with a calcium combo. And I would just follow the doses on the bottle or even a little bit less. You never really, I don't worry about toxic effects of magnesium, but I wouldn't exceed the amount on the bottle. Yeah, or even a little bit, like every other day is fine. But if you're experiencing more like irritable bowel syndrome or muscle cramping, then magnesium could be a benefit. Some people have taken it for sleep, if you have any sort of sleep disturbances, but you don't necessarily need a lot of supplementation. The one that does become low as we get older is B12. So we have a decrease of intrinsic factor as we get older that decreases the absorption of B12. So if you have less intrinsic factor, your B12 is not absorbed as efficiently. So that's important to get checked out with the doctor to see what your B12 levels are like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good question. Nice to see everybody now. Sorry, I couldn't see everyone. Hi, Deborah.
Great. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Can we see your brownie?
Yes, that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
really good
Yeah.
question. Okay, so I don't know if it needs a little bit more time, but it's super moist. Okay, I usually say 25 minutes, but everyone's ovens are different. So mine's older, so it needs a bit more time. But here's the brownie. Okay, I'm going to just move this over. So my children love this recipe, and they're almost like the best audience to critique because they're honest. Okay. So I think I need more time. So I think it's probably done maybe 35 minutes, but I'll show, wow, it's like super moist. But this is it here. So if you could see here.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like literally chewy and moist.
It's got nice texture too. It looks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm telling you, this one is magic. And applesauce will do the trick as well. If you don't like bananas. But I would still use a nut butter in there for protein, or sometimes people do like protein powders, which I'm not the biggest fan of exclusively, but you can mock up something. You can send me a message on Instagram if you don't like peanut butter, almond butter, or nut butters, and I can come up with something for you.
Yeah. Well, about how much applesauce would you use as an alternative to bananas?
Yeah, I just recommend unsweetened applesauce.
But
Okay.
how much?
Oh, I would say 3 mashed bananas is about 1 cup to 1.5 cups.
Mm,
Yeah. So I would just I would start with 1 and add a little bit more if you need more. Yeah. And applesauce is a little bit less carbs than bananas. So it's not the worst substitution. It's a better one.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anybody with other questions? Okay.
Amazing.
Well, this is great. Well, thank you again.
Yes.
You have inspired us, certainly inspired me. I want to make all of those recipes. They look terrific. And maybe try a little variation on garnishes and some other things.
Yes. You're gonna totally top me.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we're gonna have fun trying all this stuff out, I think.
And it's great that you all had an open mind to some of a healthier twist to some of our favorite recipes. Yeah.
Now, what we are going to do is, as I mentioned in the e-blast that I sent out, we have budget to send you either a gift card for the food, or so that you can make these things, or we can have the food sent directly to your house with the ingredients in these recipes. We'll kind of work that out a little later, but in the meantime, what else are we doing? Is this, was there anything else in the agenda here that, Alissa, I know Brigitte is off.
I think I'm here. I'm just in the background.
Oh, okay.
We can remind everyone about our February due, February the 17th, with a note from the Arthritis Society.
Right.
Mm.
And how important exercise is.
Yes. Yes. I can let you all wrap up your standard meeting stuff.
That's
Is there
it.
anything else for me?
I don't think so. Were we doing a draw, or were we doing?
Oh, yes. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. You were all a fabulous audience, and you really paid attention for quite some time. So round of applause to you all. Yes. Yes. Now, I always say, I always like to offer from my own kind of contribution is a gift card for anyone that attended. So a $25 gift card. So I'm going to get, if it's okay, Alan, or anyone, just a document, including yourself, Alan, all of the names today of who attended today's group. And I will send you an email gift card based on the name that I'm going to draw out.
Fantastic. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
and we will get today's recipes.
Yes. So everything, you all will have access to the PowerPoint slides and also a little kind of handout on the recipes, but they're also in the slides.
Right. Yeah, a quick question, because this is where there's no flour or anything in those breakfast bars,
Yeah.
which I would consider dessert bars,
Yes.
for myself. But anyway, do you preheat the oven like you would usually for baking, or not?
You could preheat them, or if you don't, just cook it a bit longer.
Okay.
Because you're not cooking it to cook through raw ingredients. You're just cooking it so it's
Yeah,
kind of,
exactly.
yeah. But I think that I could probably go another 5 to 10 minutes in the oven. So touch it, feel it, and see, you can eat it as you want. You can eat it super soft and moist and hot, or you can harden up a little bit. So you can kind of gauge it based on your oven.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
All right. I
great.
have clients to see in 8 minutes and somehow clean up this magical kitchen.
Absolutely.
We're
We'll
all
let you go.
amazing. And I'm so inspired. I'm all about any sort of kind of community and strength and building. So it's nice to see everyone come together to learn. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
We'll let you go.
So much.
You.